here is a memorial to some of the original families that settled on l'Île-d'Orléans. Welcome back to Codatrix Adventures. It's been a while. I was planning a whole trip. I spent months on it. Everything fell apart. This is an alternate adventure I'm on that wasn't what I had originally planned. It's a small subset of what I had originally thought of. I left a couple of days ago on my trusty Safira. She is parked at the hotel I'm staying at. I walked over here. I am in Sainte-Famille on the l'Île-d'Orléans, which is an island that is just in the middle of the St. Lawrence River, just past Quebec City, just east of Quebec City. This is an area where the first French Europeans who settled in North America came to stay. So there's a lot of history around here, and it's part of my cultural heritage. So I was interested in coming and seeing what's here, and that was basically the goal of this trip. So I am here in Sainte-Famille. I will be, at some point in time later today, visiting the house that is behind there. That is la maison de nos ancêtres, de nos aïeux. It is a museum to the way of life and what was around this region.
Inside the museum is an interpretation center with displays about the life of the settlers, the crops they grew, how they cleared the land, and solved some of the many challenges they faced as new arrivals in a new land. It showed what typical meals might have consisted of, including some of the recipes, and it showcased some of the tools and games that were common at the time. In the next room was a large maquette of the island itself and how it was partitioned and allocated to the settlers by 1709. By then, many were already second generation, cultivating the land granted or bought by their fathers. Each family had access to the river so they could more easily travel and trade with other communities along the river, and lived on long narrow strips of land with the houses built on high ground along the road that encircles the island. Who were these families? Gosselin, Pelletier, Côté, Rondeau, Paradis, Bouchard, Gagnon, Noël were only some of the names of families that settled on this island. They came primarily from the western provinces of France and made their way across the ocean for a better life for themselves and their families. The island was split into 6 different parishes, and Sainte-Famille is this middle section here on the north shore of the island, and the museum is where those lights are.
a few kilometers further and we are going to visit La Maison Drouin, which is an original house from the time of the settlers that demonstrates how they used to live. So it's a house that has not been as modernized, so we can get a sense of how did people live in the 1700s here on the l'Île-d'Orléans. So Maison Drouin, we are going to be visiting.
Welcome to La Maison Drouin. This is one of the oldest houses still remaining on l'Île d'Orléans. It was built between 1729 and 1730, then extended around 1736. As we walked in, you will have noticed the bread oven located inside the house, which was unusual for the time, but the original owner of this house was fairly wealthy, so incorporating the oven within the structure of the house was a luxury he could afford. The walls of the house are fairly thick and made of field stones and mortar. Though the house was actively lived in until the 1980s, the only modern convenience brought into the house is electricity to light up what is otherwise a dimly lit house. There is no running water, no television cable, no internet, and no other modern amenities. In recent years, the house underwent significant renovations, though it was done in keeping with the traditional materials and styles of the period.
From the Drouin house, I made my way to an observation tower at the northern edge of l'Île d'Orléans. So behind me, you should see a tower. And we're going to go to the top to go see what we can see.
The famous chansonnier québécois Félix Leclerc spent the latter part of his life in Saint-Pierre and sang his love for the island in his album Le Tour de l'Île, released in 1975. This is an album I grew up with, and in it he describes the island as 42 miles of peaceful things, wooden houses, stone houses, pointy steeples. Or in French, 42 milles de choses tranquilles, maisons de bois, maisons de pierre, clochers pointus. This adventure was, for me, a way to discover the island he loved so much. Though 50 years have passed, the island still exudes the peace and warmth that inspired him.